If you've ever seen a slant board, you've likely seen it used for one of two things: squatting or stretching your calves. And while slant boards are great for those two things, there are many different exercises you can do with a slant board to improve mobility in your ankles, knees, hips, and even your spine. In this video, I'll show you the top 7 slant board exercises for beginners. Let's get started. We'll start out with the easiest exercises and get progressively more difficult. And the first one is the one you'd think of, the calf stretch. Now, I would recommend, for safety purposes, having it pushed up against a wall so the slant board doesn't slide on you. This one does have non-slip pads on the bottom, but it's always better to have something to push it up against just in case. You'll step on the slant board like this and then lean in towards the wall, trying to drop your heels down as far as possible towards the platform. I'll show you this from a side view. Again, it probably won't slide on you, but again, for safety, it is best to have something there. So you can see from a side view that as you come more upright, that shifts your center of gravity forward. And if you do have some stiffness in your calves, your heels will come off the slant board. However, it is best to try to get them down on the slant board. So if you push your hips back a little bit, that will allow you to get your heels flat. Keep in mind, though, that doesn't mean that you're stretching all this distance. You're just compensating by pushing your hips back. You see when the hips come forwards, the heels come up. So this means that I have stiff calves, which I do. And that's actually one really good reason to own a slant board, because I'm a physical therapist. I know all the things to do to improve my calf flexibility, and I just don't do it. But if you have one of these sitting in your living room and it's staring at you, it will remind you to stretch more often. Now, you have 2 calf muscles. You have a longer, more superficial muscle called the gastrocnemius, which crosses across the back of your knee. You also have a deeper soleus muscle, which does not cross the knee. So that first version of the calf stretch, where you stand like this, stretches the gastrocnemius because it's stretched tight across the ankles and across the knees. However, that will limit your range of motion before you fully stretch the soleus or before you fully mobilize the ankle joint. So you want to do a different stretch for your soleus, and to do that, you'll put one foot on the slant board like this, and then just go into a partial lunge. And again, you want to try to keep your heel down as flat as possible, pushing forwards like that. Now you'll see my heel is a lot closer to flat in this variation because you typically do get more mobility with your knee bent than with it straight. And you can adjust the height of the slant board to make it easier or harder. This one is from Salka, and there are a few things that I really like about it, but there are also a few things that I don't like about it. And I'll tell you about one of those in just a second. The things that I like is it has a non-slip surface on the top and also non-slip pads on the bottom so that it doesn't slide on you. And it does have 5 different adjustment levels. However, I actually measured the 5 different adjustment levels, and at its highest level, it's at a 45-degree angle. That's very steep to where if you're standing facing forwards on it, you're going to slide. It's just physics. The downward force of gravity gets split into a compression vector, which is perpendicular to the board, and a slide vector, which is parallel to the board. And at 45 degrees, that compression and that slide vector are the same, so you're just going to slide. It's going to happen. So I think this is a little bit too high for squatting on. Additionally, the normal ranges of motion for ankle dorsiflexion in humans is about 20 degrees. You can walk with just 10 degrees ankle dorsiflexion. To run, you really need 20. People who have stiff calves or have plantar fasciitis or that I see in the clinic sometimes have less than 0. So a 45-degree angle is very steep. The next one goes down to 40, 35, around 28, 27, 28, and then 22 at the lowest. So this lowest level is technically higher than the normal amount of dorsiflexion. There are some very mobile people that have more than 22 degrees, but in general, 20 degrees is considered normal. So I would like to see if this board went a little bit lower, even if that meant sacrificing some of the height. However, there are a few things you can do with the board at a higher angle, such as 45 degrees. You can put your foot up on it and stretch your great toe. And when you're walking, when you go to push off, you actually need about 70 degrees of great toe extension. So even though you can't stretch your ankle 45 degrees, you can stretch your big toe much more than 45 degrees. So if you go into a lunge like this, allow your heel to come up off the board and think about extending through your great toe through first metatarsal joint. And then just lean in like that and go back and forth. And again, that helps improve the mobility so that when you go to push off when walking and running, you have the mobility that you need in your great toe. Now we'll go to squatting. And again, this is way too high to squat on. If I tried to squat on here, you'll see that as soon as I let go, I'm either going to slide forward or tip off and fall forward. So it is a good idea to have this down a little bit lower. And actually with squatting, what's hardest is to squat with your feet flat on the floor where your knees really have to go forwards over your toes because that requires a lot of ankle dorsiflexion. It's actually easier to squat on a slant board. And that's why they become so popular, especially with the knees over toes movement, is because they make squatting with your heels down much easier. You can get your knees out ahead of your toes, but it doesn't require as much ankle dorsiflexion because the board is kind of tilting you forward. So you can either do a static deep squat like this, which helps improve mobility in your ankles, knees, and hips, or you can do a dynamic squat. And this is good for strengthening your quads, especially good for people with pain in the front of their knees, such as patellar tendinopathy. These are really good exercises, just going up and down like this. But keep in mind that higher is not better in this circumstance. Lower is actually harder. So if we progress it down to a lower angle like this, this will require even more dorsiflexion out of the ankles. And then eventually you'd want to progress to just being able to do that on flat ground while keeping your heels flat. And again, admittedly, I can't keep my torso upright and squat all the way. I can squat very easily by using more of a hip dominant squat, but doing a quad dominant squat, keeping the trunk upright, it's very hard for me to do. But again, doing it on a slant board, it makes it much easier. Now we'll move to a progression on that, and that's going to be called a Poliquin step down. So this is going to be like a single leg squat where you put your leg up on the board like this, and then you're just going to do a step down. And even if you have trouble stepping downstairs due to knee discomfort, you may find this is a little bit easier, again for the reason that when you do a step downstairs, that requires more ankle dorsiflexion. If you put your foot up on a slant board like this, where your knee's angling down, now you can do that same step down movement, but it doesn't require as much mobility out of your ankle. Now, if you want to progress that, you can start going lower down into a single leg squat. And again, this board has a nice non-slip surface so that even though it feels like I'm going to slide, it grips my foot pretty well. Now, additionally, you also want to grip with your foot. So think about kind of tensing the muscles in the bottom of your foot, almost like you're gripping the board with your toes, and that will help to support your arch. Now we'll go to another progression, and that's called the ATG Split Lunge. This one was made popular by knees over toes guy, but you go forwards like this, and then come back up. And then go forwards into a lunge, And again, lunges, especially forward lunges, often can cause knee pain. However, this you'll probably find is much more comfortable, again for the reason that it doesn't require as much ankle dorsiflexion to get your knee out ahead of your toe. And then obviously you'd want to do that on both sides. So that was our quad progression, the squat and then the Poliquin step down, progressing to single leg squat, and the single leg lunge is between that step down and the full single leg squat. So now we'll move to the back part. We'll move to the hamstrings. You can stretch your hamstrings and mobilize your sciatic nerve actually by moving this up to one of the higher levels, putting your foot up like this and leaning in. This way you have your ankle dorsiflexed and you're going across your hip. So your sciatic nerve's wound tight around your lower back, around your hip, across the back of the knee, and across the back of the ankle. Then you can do a nerve glide where you just go back and forth through this stretching movement. So you don't necessarily want to hold a static stretch with your sciatic nerve on tension like this, but just going back and forth through that range of motion is a good sciatic nerve mobilization, as well as a stretch for your hamstrings and your calves. Now there's another way that you can do a hamstring stretch, and you'll probably want a lower board for this, which is where you stand on the board, grab on to the front of it, and then push your hips back. And here you're getting both a hamstring and calf stretch. And then finally we'll progress that to a Jefferson curl, where you're going down like this with the weights and then coming up. Now this is not the same thing as a Romanian deadlift or an RDL, where you're keeping your spine neutral and moving hips back, hips forward. In fact, you can't do an RDL on a slant board because if you push your hips back, you're going to fall off of it. So instead, you want to allow your spine to round out. So this is loaded spinal flexion, which is controversial. However, it is safe for your spine to bend. You just want to keep the load very light. So this is not a heavy exercise. I'm using 10-pound dumbbells in each hand and just going back and forth through spinal flexion, back to neutral. Spinal flexion, back to neutral. Now, if you'd like more exercises to improve your flexibility, check out this video over here. But before you go, if you found this one helpful, make sure to give it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you get notified of my future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.